Kendal Avenue in West London. This is where the vehicles owned by London Outside Broadcast are parked. We're going to look at just one of those vehicles. This is a Type 5 colour mobile control room. This is Unit 5 out of 6 owned by London Outside Broadcast. As you can see, it is a very large vehicle, and basically it is divided into 3 areas, or 3 rooms if you like, behind the cab at the front. This is the cab. I'd just like to point out 1 or 2 features on the outside of the vehicle. First of all, an equipment loading hatch just behind the cab. This is for taking inside bulky pieces of equipment like monitors. Further down the side of the vehicle is a telescopic mast which can be used to extend an aerial which can receive normal TV broadcasts. Halfway down the side of the vehicle is where the mains power supplies are applied to the vehicle. These connectors are connected to cables which can be connected to external commentators' positions around the OB site. The top row of connectors are power connectors which can also be extended to places like commentary positions, and they supply power for things like lighting. The 8 large connectors seen here are connected to camera cables which run to cameras which can be placed anything up to 5,000 feet away around the OB site. This switch can be turned to the off position, which disconnects all mains power into the vehicle. The connectors on this panel are used to connect cables to microphones around the outside broadcast site. Note the ladder at the tail end of the vehicle. This is used for gaining access to the roof if aerials and other equipment need to be rigged there. Looking at the other side of the vehicle, these doors are available to gain access to the back of the sound control area wiring. We'll see the inside of that part of the vehicle later. This is an escape hatch in the event of a fire, or it could also be used for loading very large pieces of equipment into the vision control area, which we'll see later. We're now walking into the vehicle. We're standing in the cab looking down into the vehicle. I'm about to open this door. Notice the no smoking sign. Smoking is not allowed in technical areas. We're now inside the vision control area, looking away from the cab. The monitors you see display to the vision engineers and the vision supervisor cameras that are available to be remotely controlled for exposure and what we call lift, which is equivalent to the brightness on your television set at home. On each desk are 2 joysticks. A vision engineer would sit and operate these, and by pushing them up and down and rotating them, he can control by remote control the brightness, or lift as we call it, of the television picture, but also the correct exposure of the camera involved. In this case, the engineer is responsible for 2 cameras. And if we look at the other desks, there are similar pairs of joysticks on the other desks. The vision supervisor. In front of him he has a telephone and various buttons which he can select his colour monitor in front of him to different sources. He also has this set of wheels by which he's responsible for making sure the colours of different cameras match each other. For instance, if the cameras are looking around a football pitch, it's desirable that all the greens of the grass of the pitch are all the same green, and he'd achieve this by adjusting these colour wheels. He'd also coordinate the activities of the engineers under his control. A row of gauges above the vision supervisor's position show the current consumption and voltage of the incoming main supplies that you saw earlier on the two cables in the side of the vehicle. This panel distributes the incoming mains from the two power cables that you saw earlier to the various technical circuits running on mains voltage within the vehicle. Looking back in the other direction towards the cab, these racks of equipment house various bits of technical equipment. It's called a waveform monitor. It displays the television waveform, the vector scope that displays the colour information from the television picture. Cream coloured cables distribute picture signals to various parts of the vehicle. We're now looking at the sound control area. This is in the tail end of the vehicle. The equipment in here is responsible for accepting signals from microphones plugged into the sound jack field you saw earlier and controlling their levels. We also have various bits of audio equipment in here. The top machine is a player for a cassette. In the corner here we have a professional reel-to-reel quarter-inch recorder. This panel here is used for communications between the vehicle and cameras, etc. And the most important piece of equipment in here is a multi-channel sound mixer. The white row of knobs along the bottom control the sound levels from microphones, which will be wired from the side of the vehicle around the outside broadcast site. Note the sound department have two monitors just to keep a check of what's happening in the vision department. We're now looking at the production control area in the centre of the vehicle. As you can see, there's a large stack of monitors. On these monitors will be displayed the cameras available to the producer, who would sit in the centre of the area behind what's called the vision mixer desk. On these rows of buttons, the cameras which the producer wants to send to be transmitted or recorded, or possibly both, are selected. In this case, you can see camera 1 and 2 are selected as indicated by the illuminated buttons on the row. The producer has two colour monitors. The right hand one is displaying the pictures that are going to the transmission output of the vehicle, as selected on the buttons we've just seen. To the left is another colour monitor. That's called the preview monitor. That can be selected to anything that the producer wishes to preview in anticipation of transmitting it. The cameras are normally displayed on black and white monitors. As you can see here in the bottom row, camera 1, up to camera 5. With an assistant, usually a young lady, she would answer the telephone. She would use her stopwatch to time sequences, and she would generally communicate with anybody who was necessary to ensure the smooth running of the program. The engineering manager, he acts as liaison between the production staff and the other members of staff in the vehicle, the sound supervisor, the deputy sound supervisor, the vision engineers and the vision supervisor. He would sort out any serious technical problems by using an outside telephone, or possibly by communicating with other members of staff on the OB side. Well, safety is very important, and on the way out we'll see above the door a fire extinguisher. There are several fire extinguishers placed at strategic points around the vehicle. And that concludes the tour of London 5, one of the 6 colour mobile control rooms owned by London Outside Broadcast.